Who was the first?
advisory
person?
committee or
Tony said
the
no, he's
focus
not gonna
group
be
type thing, at least there'll be.
Callan's
I don't
not
think,
gonna be-
I don't think we should get into that kind of a discussion if there's not a quorum here, though.
Okay, well, we're still looking
Because
for.
that would, I think that could be interpreted as deliberation. I think we should stay away from it without the quorum present.
Yeah.
So are we live?
I believe we are.
Okay.
Has everybody's got to turn this microphone?
Turn your microphone on.
I have it on.
Richard, are we live?
Blink if you're on.
I was gonna say, why don't you go ahead and consider us live?
Okay,
And
I'm
we'll go
just
ahead and proceed. I
trying
mean,
to see who else, somebody's on Zoom. We're expecting a couple people on Zoom.
I see 2 participants listed, but I think that might just be us and perhaps Richard's avatar.
Hmm.
Good
Joe is on.
Oh, good.
Nope, it's off. What? And
This
then,
is Joe. He's just got his mic and his camera off.
Yep, I'm here.
Great.
Okay, so
Alright.
we got 4.
So we have a quorum.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. You want to call the meeting to order,
We'll
Mr. Chair?
call the meeting to order. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we'll do roll call. Corey.
Here.
Joe.
Here.
Roger, here. Tony. No. Tom Sheridan. No. Robert Travers.
Here?
Okay, so we have a quorum. Any additional items to the agenda? I have a couple. One, we had a request from Kellen to look at changing our meeting times due to some conflicts he's got. So I'd like to add that down under action items, or committee reports maybe, after item C. And then the second item is email from the consultant concerning time frame and update.
Okay.
That's part of the agenda anyway, I guess.
And we can add that as an additional materials under comments from staff. if you
Okay.
want.
Any other additions? Okay. Minutes, we guess we don't have any. Tony's working on those, I understand. Public participation? None. Comments? None. Okay, action items, number 7. There was some confusion, I guess, about the final report from our committee to the board, because there were some blanks, pieces left in it.
Some of the confusion was on the part of staff. Can I explain
Sure.
where I reached out to you and Bob?
You bet.
Yeah.
So I had maybe a few weeks ago reached out to Bob and Roger to ask if their understanding was that the CAC's final report was truly final, or was it not? Because in looking at it, there have been kind of placeholder sections left towards the back of the report. And so when they talked to me,
Welcome, Tom.
welcome, Tom.
Hey, how's it going?
Going good. We're down on the discussion of the final report, Tom.
Oh, got it, okay.
And so, Tom, I was just saying that I had initiated contact with Roger and Bob because I wasn't clear as staff, and I couldn't get confirmation from either Kellen or Casey. We weren't sure if the report was truly done because there had been placeholders placed in the rear of it. And so we didn't know if there was further work that the committee was expecting to be done, or if this was the final version and we were good to just give it to the consultant and tell them that. And that was really the thing, is I wanted to let the consultant know if there was any additional information they should expect from the CAC. And in particular, I knew there'd been some back and forth about what should go in the scope of work associated with the RFP. And I think I might have gotten that confused with the report being finalized or not. So I had a conversation with just Roger and Bob, but I also suggested that we check in with the rest of the committee and verify that is truly what everyone thought too, that the report's done. So that's it. I'll hand it back to the committee.
Sure. And I think the report ended up being, we created this 3-ring binder with all these different tabs and reports and everything else. And at the end, there are these tabs for future things. And so what was submitted was a PDF of that book. So I think that's where the confusion came in. But that was submitted to the board.
The board,
In July, I believe it was.
does that sound right, Bob?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And I don't think, there's no other,
No other changes or updates, so it's
Yeah.
fine to give it on to the
I'll
consultant.
make a motion that we accept the completion of what you have shown on the, our committee, what would they be called? PDF.
So would it be saying motion to accept the report as complete?
Perfect.
Would that be fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have a second?
I second.
Okay. So we got, somebody taking notes?
I am.
Okay, good, thank you. So we have a motion to reports complete as submitted. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Who was the second for that?
Tom.
Thomas.
Me,
Thank you.
Tom.
Thank you.
Yep.
All those opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, on to item B, update from staff on consultant study.
So, and I think I misspoke when I had suggested adding something to the agenda. I'll add this here. So essentially, we've conducted the kickoff meeting with the consultant, and I'll say I'm filling in for Casey because he's out. He's in recovery from a procedure of some sort. So as far as I know, he's doing great. But wanted to make sure that you all are aware that the consultant team is working on some of the background items, and so they're working on some of the preliminary economic information as well as food and beverage options, site zoning analysis, site topography information, and the early options associated with the clubhouse, event pavilion, and cart. I'll say that one of the early meetings we had as kind of a kickoff, we looked at the various configurations that the consultants were really trying to think about. How do you site all the elements that are the key or foundational elements and make that look the way you generally expect it needs to function? So there is an email that was sent to me, and I'm going to read the response from Michael Bond into the record so that we've got it for the recording. And then I'll also forward this to members of the committee. But the folks that are here in the room have a hard copy, but since there are two of you virtual, I thought this would be important. And so I had just asked Michael Bond if there were any save the dates or other outreach type things related to the activities of the committee that he wanted to share with me. And he gave me the short response. Said, "Good morning, Clay. I hope Casey is doing well." I'm going to leave out the rest of the sentence. "Thanks for reaching out regarding the CAC. We would like to get in front of the committee at their January 12th, 2026 meeting to share our development of the 3 options you asked us to produce, as well as some updates on the information below. By that time, we will have a good idea of how those options are taking shape, and we will be able to provide enough detail to get good feedback from them. It would be important that someone from CPRD be at that meeting, so someone will be there. You can also share that by the end of this week, we plan to have the following pre-designed deliverables to CPRD, parentheses, you, comma, Casey, comma, Kellen, end parentheses, preliminary economic information on food and beverage options, site zoning analysis, site topographic information, parentheses, this is coming from our civil engineer. They've been a bit slow to get contractually on board, so TBD on this, end parentheses. 3 to 5 early options for where to site the clubhouse, event pavilion, and the cart storage / maintenance facility. And then it says, we have our golf operations consultant, GGA, and landscape architect, Lango Hansen, on board now, and they are beginning their work. Casey and I discussed the idea of using the January 12th CAC meeting as an opportunity to advertise to or invite the larger public to hear an update. I want to make sure that we do this in concert with you / CPRD and we continue to discuss this as an option. The feedback we will get from the CAC will be very helpful, but it will be from a pretty narrow, pro CGGC / new clubhouse demographic. It may be important to hear from a broader audience. If the CAC isn't the best place or time to engage with the group, let's discuss other options. Reach out if you'd like to discuss any of this before tonight. Because I had about 6 or 7 hours of meetings. I did not have an opportunity to talk to Mr. Bond before this meeting, but that would be a good thing for this group to say, one, would you want to kind of be a host for an information session where we figure out the right balance? So if we're doing outreach with the consultant, one objective is to get input from the CAC. Another of the consultant at some point is to get broader community input. So we can choose to do that broader community input at a CAC meeting, but there are certain public meeting law requirements that, as you guys know, we have to have it hybrid, we have to have it in a place where we've got that connectivity, we have to follow regular public meeting laws, or would it be better to have a more informal info session or something like that where we could, in theory, host people over at the Clubhouse that we now have if we wanted to, or do it on a, a Saturday morning or whatever. So I'd be curious if the CAC's got any opinions on maybe how we advise the consultant on your guys' thoughts on what your desires are.
Well, I'm open to anything that moves this forward.
Yeah, so I 2 cents is, I think we need to have a broader, having this meeting and inviting a broader group of people here to hear, what we're proposing, what they're looking at, and what the different options are. I think that in itself would be, to me, that would be the best option. The more people, the better. Granted, we want, we can't, we don't want to use tractors, but how do you single those people out, right? So, but people that would show up to this would be more people that would be for it and are interested in it, want to support it, and be want to hear what's going on and what we're working on.
I kind of think that this committee is a representation of the public, right? Maybe more golf heavy, but I'd like to hear all their opinions, and I'll leave it to the experts on what's the best format or.
Well, I wanted to put out, they're going to come to the CAC either way. It's a question of whether we have invite the public, and the public's always invited to come to these meetings, but whether we also host another separate kind of looser type of event with the consultant. And I was curious if you guys have any feelings. I'm happy to use this as an excuse to promote the golf CAC meeting. Either way, whether we have a separate one or not, it's just kind of might be a question with the consultant if we really focus on getting folks here, or if we offer another alternative event as well, but that might dilute it a little bit. So I didn't know if there were feelings about, we really want to own it and have them focus on us, the CAC, whereas if we bring the consultant in and they're trying to do stuff for the broader public, that public element, if that's the only event that's going to be made available to them, we're going to kind of take over the CAC meeting and kind of spin it into more of this work session-y type thing, perhaps, or whatever the consultant team decides to do. And so I don't know if that would offend your sensibilities or not. Sometimes some committees are like, no, it's our meeting.
Well, that's a question. Other advisory groups have had, I assume, some input into projects or something like that. How have they been handled, or how are they?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer because I haven't been around for those. For us, for example, Jim, do you know what we've done precisely with the Pickleball Advisory Committee? Because that might be a good example.
As far as public input?
Yeah, how did the CAC help perhaps as a place to gather public input or a venue for public input, or did we do things completely separately?
I think it was separate. It was more that committee pretty much, that was the public input was through that specific committee.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for this, you need to, just like we did, we just had these open meetings for the general public on, the Rennie Field and some of the other projects we're doing. I think you need to have that type of an open meeting for this,
Okay.
to invite the general public.
Separate from an advisory committee meeting?
I would think so, for more informational. You can put them together if you don't have a big agenda.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, we really don't have
If
much
you
of
don't
an
have a big
agenda.
agenda, then why have two meetings?
Yes,
But I would definitely advertise it and get it out there to the public that this is what's going on.
One thought, if folks would want to offer two options, is we have one where we have a work session type agenda item in front of the CAC that the consultant could come, regularly scheduled meeting time, do it on January 12th if that's where it's supposed to sit. But in addition to that, we could talk to the consultants and see if they would do something like a Saturday or Sunday morning, so that it's something that's, one, not a weekday, two, not an evening, maybe it opens it up to other people. And where it's perhaps at the golf course, so people could even do a walkabout and say, these are the areas we're thinking about, and structure it differently, because if it's like, we can't do a walkabout in one of these meetings because we have to make the public meeting available that way. But if we do that as more as a community information session where we're seeking public input, it gives us that flexibility to run it that way. Would that be a version of that this group thinks might be valuable? I feel like one of the prior meetings, I heard people say it'd be nice to do something at the golf course so people knew what they were talking about, especially if they're not familiar with the golf course.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna put my 2 cents in, and I think it would be beneficial to have it there so people can see, hey, we're looking at, putting this new clubhouse on, the practice green and the putting course. Those all go away, but we have this clubhouse. I mean, just so they know and not be a surprise. But, people have a hard time visualizing stuff, so if we could actually walk them out there and say, hey, this is where this is going, having a drawing in our hand or a schematic, and saying, hey, here's where this is going, point to it, here's where this is going, point to it, and I think would be beneficial to people that are interested. So, I mean, I lean more heavily towards, putting the information out there, and the people that are willing and want to show up will show up. The people that I call them email warriors, but the people that only respond on social media networks and stuff, they're gonna say what they're gonna say. But, the people who really care about it, the ones that would actually show up for something like that and hear what they have to say, because we don't want to operate in a vacuum. We have our ideas, and we know our ideas of our friends and people we play golf with and what they want to see. But there's other people out there that have a different idea and want something different, or have an opinion and have an opportunity to hear what those are and try to incorporate them and stuff would be, I think, beneficial. But I guess, with that said, I guess what I want to understand is, can we, prior to that type of meeting, can we get with Michael and his team, in an informal quote meeting to kind of walk through what all the pieces are, so we have a better idea? I mean, we can read about it and see what they put in print, but it'd be nice to be able to have a discussion with them and make sure that we're all on the same page.
When you say informal, do you have a certain vision of what that means? Because, I mean, if the body convenes, it has to convene in the typical format that we're doing here, where we have to make it typically available virtually and in person. So
Yep.
Unless there's a less than quorum that's assigned to kind of as a task force, or I don't know that there's a good word for it, as a subgroup to kind of engage directly with them, you couldn't have a whole quorum of the CAC engage with the consultant informally. And I'll be honest, they're billing us and they're working on things. I'm sensitive to giving them inconsistent direction.
Yeah. Okay. No, I still don't have a full grasp on what the meeting rules are and all that type of stuff. So I was just throwing it out there that if we could have a quote informal, like 2 or 3 people, have a sit down with Michael and his team, or his, not his team, but it's just him and maybe one other associate or whatever, and go through what they've got. would be
You're,
great.
I'll respond to that real quick, and then I saw Corey put his hand up, that you could put up to 2 people as kind of designees, as kind of lead liaisons from the CAC, if you wanted. So that would be an approach. You guys could decide that this evening. Corey, you have a comment?
Well, I just had a couple quick questions. I think, one, I hear what I think I hear Tom saying is like, as a committee member, if we hear about it for the first time, the proposal with the rest of the public, we could be caught off guard. You know, and then, public could come to us and
Yeah.
start asking questions. So I think it'd be great if we had a little heads up around the presentation, be it formal, informal. That was my first thing. And then the second question is, so this is an informal session outside of our regularly scheduled meeting. And I assume on the 12th that there might be some things we're gonna have to vote on regarding this proposal, or no? Meaning, do we have to do this informal thing before our next meeting?
That's a good question. I don't think so, and I haven't seen a date for that. He was kind of, I think, what I got from reading that email, he's kind of asking, do we want to do something, do we want to just do this one thing? Do we want to do another thing? I could suggest that we schedule it to do the CAC item first, and that we also, that it could be scheduled with the CAC so that it is a work session, but ask the consultant to create it so that it's clear that it's still the CAC's meeting. And so the public is invited to participate in some way, which is where you basically make the public comment portion available. You can open and close that, but that it invites the CAC to kind of formally pick a preferred option, should you wish to. And so that would give you the ability to have the CAC as a body express an official opinion, and you can still discuss things as a group and say, we generally like this stuff, but here's our preferred one, and here's maybe why we like it. So having them come to the meeting is still a plus, but would it help? And the other part of that is we can ask the consultant to make sure they give us as many materials as possible in advance for your packet, so you're not surprised. And while that would be available to the public, the honest truth is the public doesn't always know to check the meeting packet for materials. And it's too bad that more people aren't familiar with that, because the government's not trying to hide stuff most of the time. It's just, you gotta know where to find it. So, would something like that seem like that would kind of get to what you're hoping for? If we sequence them the right way and then encourage the consultant to get that stuff in advance, like with the board, we usually publish the packet a full week in advance. I don't think there's gonna be that much to read through, but.
Yeah, no, I think, getting even a packet in advance would be nice. And if that is a formal CAC meeting where we're voting on it, does any of the committee members feel like there needs to be a little time between when the public hears about it and when we vote on it, just in case there's feedback from the public that comes to us? But I'm not trying to complicate things.
But yeah, getting us a packet or whatever ahead of time, again, like Corey's saying, that's kind of what I'm getting at is, getting blindsided by people, when they're seeing the same thing for the first time, that usually doesn't go very well. So, and it's usually the people that are totally against it or against anything. But I think having, a little bit of a preview ahead of time, whether it be a packet, maybe a 30-minute, hey, Michael, just quickly run us through your packet and stuff, whatever, but have two separate, one first preview, and then having the CAC meeting.
So, there's no way.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to back up Tom on that as far as kind of doing something separately with just us to see it, because, to be fair to everybody on this committee, there's some guys here outside of me that have put a lot of time and effort into trying to get this put into fruition. And so I just think that, if the committee were to get the opportunity to meet with the consultant, see what the vision is essentially, and then have that public meeting where it's advertised somewhere, put out, so that way, then yeah, and it's at the golf course, so they can see kind of the lay of the land and everything. I just, I back up Tom on that one.
So am I hearing it correctly that, so I can't do, I just want to make sure I'm not misunderstanding things. But when you all say preview, there's no version of preview that can be given to the committee as a whole without the public having it available to them. So I just want to make that clear. So there's no, when we say preview, that would still have to be a public meeting, but it would just be something that would be your meeting, and we design it so that it's still more of a, it's really for the CAC as a body to dialogue, discuss, deliberate. The public would still have the opportunity to attend. We would still expect that we can take public comments, but it might not be designed as more of an open house or work session style setting. It's really for this body to talk about in that meeting. And then we would create a second, more informal one that's really designed for the public to show up on site, to talk about things, to tell us what they think. That would be some period of time after the CAC meeting.
I was just looking, this is the contract.
Sure.
On Exhibit A, it talks about pre-design services. And they're supposed to provide a project schedule, critical path. Under development, they got consult with Golf Clubhouse Citizen Advisory Committee, 1 meeting. And then at the end of the design, pre-design, they've got assist in a messaging plan for public outreach related to funding options by providing support design materials and financial plan information. So it looks like they've kind of got that in their work, or scope of work that they've talked about.
That thing that you cited as the second thing would be much later in the project because they won't have anything about financing in this meeting yet.
But this is still all in the pre-design services area.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm asking, I understand that some of this stuff is laid out pretty clear in the scope of work. Those are kind of minimum things that they have to deliver.
Right.
So this is really me asking the CAC's preference on how it happens.
Well, I was just
Not
looking
what
at
they do.
what they had scheduled to do. It looked like they were kind of scheduling that. Then you get into conceptual design services where they get down, prepare community engagement materials for 3 design options, including plans, the elevations section. Further on down, once they do the concept of the pre-design services, and then final, they talk about present draft cost estimates of the options. So it looks to me like they're kind of looking at a couple different meetings, and I like the concept of having our regular advisory committee meeting on the 12th with them either zooming in or something to talk about the points that they've mentioned here, and then look at maybe 2 weeks later or something to have this public meeting. So I don't want to get off their schedule, but at the same time, I would like to see the public input, and I like the idea of having something over at the clubhouse, so when the public is there, they can actually see what the shape of things are now and what are looking at potentially in the future might be.
Okay. So if I'm hearing this correctly, what we'll suggest is that they go for something that them coming to the CAC is more of a traditional CAC meeting. The public is welcome to attend, and we will promote it as an opportunity for the public to learn, provide public comment, but there will be more of an immersive or less structured public event, perhaps at the golf course, that would be offered as well.
Can that happen without having video services there?
That can, because it would just be a public information session and outreach. The reason
Okay.
we can't do that for your CAC is because you're a public body appointed by the board.
Okay.
So you're subject to those public meeting law requirements, which is the public's got to be able to.
Right.
Since 2020, we now get the privilege of having these hybrid meetings, which are great, but they do limit the flexibility of some of those meeting types.
Every time it's something new that we get to learn about. CPRD.
I don't know. You seem like you guys have learned this before. I don't think you're that surprised. Bob, you don't look that surprised to me.
I'm not surprised at all. Anyway.
I'm not. You know, Clay, I'm going to tell you that you just communicated more clearly than what we've been communicated in the past.
Yeah, true.
Well, thank you. I hope it was all accurate. I think it is. So, but we're going to try and do the best. And if this
We're
if folks,
been accurate, so.
if at any time folks do feel like you need more information about what you can do and why you can or cannot do it, then let us know. We'll try and give you the best information we can. So,
Yeah.
but
I guess just real quick, our meeting, having a subsequent meeting with the public out at the site and everything else, the pre-meeting to get the information you know, from what I'm understanding, what you're saying, Clay, is we can do that with no more than 2 people.
That is correct.
And so I suggest we need to do that. And hopefully, I don't think might be an hour or whatever to just get it downloaded to 2 people. And then, you know, I guess, is it wrong to those 2 people to communicate with us about what they heard and what was said and that type of stuff? Or, you know, how does that work?
I think that's a great question, and it could be wrong if it was done the wrong way. But it would be fine if they were asked to basically be representatives and report out, and that correspondence goes into your meeting packet during your next meeting. So they can go and get, because then that's going to too be in the meeting packet, and would then just be, the public gets to know what you shared with the rest of your committee. So what I would suggest, if you want to go that route, is you identify 1 or 2 people to serve as your liaisons to the feasibility study consultants that we communicate with the feasibility study consultant team and have them either attend a meeting we've got on the books or schedule a separate time to meet with these designees. And then that these designees do a report back to the committee that'll just go into your packet. And so that would just be an email summary that we can put into your packet, and it goes to you guys before that next meeting. So you get an update.
So Clay, I have a question for you and the rest of the committee. What is the reservation about having a formal CAC committee before the public information session? I mean, we can, just because they have access to information, but I think there's something more to the on-site, like if people want to come out and ask questions, and maybe they got the packet from the week before, or whatever our CAC meeting was. And then they can come out and say, okay, so this is where you're putting X, Y, and Z. But again, if there's reservation about disclosing information before the public information session, I'm just asking what those concerns are.
Staff does not have any reservations about that.
Yeah, I support what you're saying. I would like to see the presentation to the full committee rather than just representatives and then the representatives come back.
me too.
Yeah, I think it should be to the whole committee, regular meeting, CAC meeting.
Okay. So am I hearing from these 3, no, like the preview?
Do we need to make a vote on that or get it? What's
I
the
think you can talk
feeling?
amongst yourselves. But
Anyone online have concerns?
No, I'm good with that. If we need to you know, if we make it a public meeting, I mean, this is a public meeting right now, and how many public people are on here?
That's
bad, almost.
This is typical.
So, I mean, you know, there's usually maybe 1 or 2 people on here. I say that then let's schedule another public meeting to hear from Michael and his team on what they're proposing and what they're looking at. So we, as a preview, and then, you know, the regular scheduled CAC meeting, we roll it all out.
No, I think what's suggested is we have a regular scheduled CAC meeting on January 12th with Michael Bond and company doing a presentation. And then at some time, a few weeks later, we have a public meeting, maybe at the golf clubhouse. And, you know, discuss, again, the presentation and the ideas and the committee's recommendation or whatever at that point.
Well, I assume we're going to call that a work session?
Yes.
So if that was a motion, I second it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we got a motion to go ahead and have our normal meeting on January 12th, and then a public meeting at some later date.
Oh, public information.
Public information meeting, thank you, yes.
Yeah.
All those in
So
favor?
January 12th, we'll have Michael and his team there to give us, present their findings and all that type of stuff. And then, again, in the future, we'll have a public information meeting to present those findings and get public feedback.
Yes.
Okay, I'm good with that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All
Aye.
opposed?
Okay, unanimous?
Okay, great. Is that clear then, Clay, what
Yep.
the committee would like to see? Okay.
Quick
Okay.
question, you talked about time earlier. Did you guys want to change the time so Kelly can make the meeting, or?
We'll discuss that at another time, but definitely, we've talked about that driving up here.
I was just thinking.
Why
about
are we
it as
not
well.
changing the time to assist
Yeah.
everybody?
Well,
Is that the
and,
number?
and that's, I think that's one of the next
It is,
agenda
it's on the
items.
agenda, just down a little further.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
So now we're into 7C, discuss the role of advisory committee. And from what I remember, Tony was supposed to be convening a subcommittee to talk about the future role, and I'm not sure that ever happened.
Nope, never happened.
Okay,
Would you like to table discussion to the next meeting?
yes. And I-
To continue that, or?
Okay, and then the next item was just the board liaisons.
Sorry,
Discussion-
can I
oh,
get
sorry,
one clarification?
yes.
Sorry, I'm just, yes, made such a good job explaining meeting rules and stuff. Are we violating with three of us?
No.
Think we gotta-
No.
Okay, sorry.
It's not
I
a
remember
ma-
you said two of us could be
not a-
without it being a
not a
formal
majority.
The,
Formal majority, okay, thank
whoa,
you.
whoa, whoa.
Well-
I think you're.
That's true. So I misspoke earlier. When I said maximum of two, it would be a maximum of three,
Okay.
because your quorum is four.
Okay,
That's correct.
I just wanted you to know I was paying
So,
attention.
sorry about that.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, so the next item was just a discussion by the board liaisons on a recent board meeting in October, where there was a discussion about the role of the citizens advisory committees versus a focus group and things, and I didn't hear any clear direction from the board about their thoughts, although I have seen action that the pickleball committee has decided to dissolve as a as a CAC and form
think
back as a
we're-
focus.
I don't think that we were giving direction as much as trying to educate the committees of, you know, the overhead costs of the district. You know, we have to have people here. I'm glad to be here, I'm a volunteer, it's fine. But, you know, we're paying staff to be here, we're paying the person that's running this meeting to be here, and if we don't have the meetings, or we don't have a quorum, then it's costing the taxpayers and them time, where we could use them somewhere else. So that's kind of where we were at on that. I mean, so the pickleball folks decided we're just gonna have an ad hoc committee. It's not gonna be a quote committee that's, you know, assigned by, you know, that's approved by the district, and we will come back and, you know, give our opinions or whatever later on when they are developing the pickleball courts later, like in the screening or whatever. So you may find a time when you don't feel that you are really needed anymore after this initial part, but that's completely up to you, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's kind of where we're at on that.
Right, and so when they dissolved, they requested that the district still support them as a group of volunteers that they're referring to as a focus group. We could call it whatever we want, there's lots of different things we could call it, but it just becomes less formal, and it's something where it's just a group of volunteers speaking with staff about how things work and what their suggestions are, and creates an opportunity for staff to engage, but in a kind of structured way where folks know how to get a hold of each other. And to Jim's point, it is a staff commitment, and I mean, whether it's Kat corresponding with people about agendas and minutes and those sorts of things, or whether it's Richard, who's already worked all day but is running this meeting, or myself, or Casey, or Kellen. So we're happy to do it because it needs to be done, but we want to make sure that it's worth the time that we do. And to be fair, all of you are volunteering your time, so we want it to be worth your time too. So the pickleball committee basically decided they had taken their project to a good stopping place.
Yeah.
They could claim success because it's under construction. We're really not changing the goalposts now because the dirt's started moving. And that, you know, maybe it's appropriate to stand up a committee again in a year or two when they're ready to move on to a phase where they start talking about covering that set of courts and that sort of thing. And that could be a committee again, or it could be a specified group that's part of that project.
And
There's
I've
different
also
ways.
seen
don't
your
mind-
frustrations too, from where, oh my gosh, they mentioned it tonight. We got these rules, we don't understand them, we're trying to meet them, we can't meet them, we have to deal. That's gotta be frustrating for you folks too, so, and I get it, cause I don't really like all these state rules either, but, you know, it's something we have to abide by.
So to understand everything and make sure Corey is in the loop here, we have talked about dissolving this committee at a particular point, like they mentioned. But the same time, we still want to be involved because we put a lot of time and effort and we want to see it through to the end. And that's where a focal group would be taken out of the board of directors exposure and connection to the staff connection. So we are no longer required by law, if I'm not mistaken, to be in front of the public. We can now work within the staff and our group, whatever committee I don't know what I even want to call a committee, but
I would
Let's
stop
call it.
using the word committee at that point.
Yeah,
It would really just be
yeah,
volunteers that are
absolutely.
talking to staff.
It's just a focus group.
yeah,
Yeah.
focus group. So that's why we're discussing this thing.
But again,
Thank you.
this group in the district is such that it's not that hard to come to a board meeting and get the ear of the board. So to me, it doesn't feel that it would be that scary for any of the committees when the time is right to dissolve, but still stay engaged, but in a different way. This one happens to have enough momentum that there's a project actively underway. So right now, doesn't seem like the time we would advise that, because we would literally be moving the goalposts on our consultant team who expects us to have a CAC there. But we can ask ourselves if the time is right after the feasibility study is done, but have some expectations about how things might move forward after that. So it's just something to make for this group to think about. And each of the CACs that, when we talked about this with the board that were present, they each were in very different places. The pickleball committee had a group that they were under construction. You guys had a project just starting up, but at a feasibility or a concept stage. And then the trails committee has the broadest mandate of all, because theirs is just trails. And so that affects a lot of different facilities, a lot of different areas, a lot of different topics. And so they have a whole different kind of concept to chew on, and what is their mandate, what are they being asked to do? So yours is much more focused because it's about this clubhouse for the golf course. So that's kind of interesting things. They're all kind of different, but it was nice to have that.
I think however we can fulfill our mission statement, because our mission statement is that, we're going to reflect the community's vision for a state-of-the-art facility, which to me implies that we're not just advising up until the feasibility, but into the design phase and everything else. So, however we want to build that, so it's not taking so much staff time and stuff, is fine. I just want to make sure that the board has, the focus group input for making the final decision on plans and
Now,
stuff
we're
like
talking
that.
the board, or we're talking about the committee?
No, the committee, so as a focus group, whatever we call ourselves,
Oh, okay.
I think we need to still be engaged beyond the feasibility
absolutely.
study.
Yeah.
But if I heard Clay right, like, we're together formally because the feasibility study requires a CAC. But how do we move forward after that and open to different ideas? I just want to make sure that the group of us can still represent to some degree the community and then have the ear of the board for making decisions. And when the board, so they can hear from us.
Yeah, so the whole reason the CAC has to follow public meeting laws is because it is a creature of the board. And so your job is to be the experts that know what's going on about why this clubhouse makes sense, reflects that vision from the community and those sorts of things. And you can be their experts that really dig into this and say, this is being done really well, we like this part. This part we don't like so much because it doesn't make sense for the community in this way or that way. So to that extent, be involved. One of the things that I will say as a takeaway that I've been trying to remind the committees, if just because of timing you don't have any agenda items, just say we don't have any agenda items and we'll cancel the meeting that month. Do that. Or if you don't think you're gonna have them frequently, just have the meetings every other month or whatever it is. But if we don't get an agenda and agenda items prior to meetings, I'm directing staff to just go ahead and cancel the meeting. And that's not a personal statement, that is just saying there's nothing to talk about this month, and it's okay. Because we just want to use staff time wisely and your time wisely.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, so maybe the discussion about morphing to something else is a little premature at this time for this committee, and that we just got to continue to go on like we're doing now, and then at some point in time, take a look at moving to a different format.
But I hear what Clay's saying, it's just, when there's a call for agenda items, if we have none, and then you tell us that there's no new information to provide us, like, I think the last 2 meetings we've canceled, so.
Yeah,
We're kind of following that rule already.
that's right. And that's what we were hoping for.
Yeah,
honestly.
good. Okay. Down to item 8. Comments from the CPR board liaisons?
I don't have any, it'd just be good to see what the consultant comes up with. I'm excited to see that, just like you folks are.
Thank you for being here. Comments from CPRD staff? I'll start off, we start off with Kellen's request,
Yeah.
or did you have something?
You can do that, and we can, I meant to, you added that as an action item.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So,
Yeah.
so we can, why don't we go back to that,
Okay.
we'll call that item 7D.
Okay.
Because that's
yes,
what
thank
you called at the
Yes,
beginning.
I
And so
wrote
that
that
was
wrong here.
Kellen's request to the CAC, that your group talk about the meeting schedule, because unfortunately, it's a reoccurring conflict for him, and he's your staff liaison. That's part of why at times you don't see Kellen as often as we would like to. And I had specifically said, hey, if it's hard for you to make the meetings and you're the liaison, you need to tell the CAC members so they can consider what their schedules are and fixing it. So that's the
Yeah,
request
so
from
what-
Kellen.
This, we got this, Tony and I got this email this afternoon from Kellen. So good afternoon, sorry, didn't let you know earlier, but for the next 4 months, I have commitments on Monday evenings that conflict with the monthly CAC meeting. My commitment on Mondays is from 4:30 to 6 p.m. And I'm planning a Zoom meeting as soon as he can. I don't want to miss these meetings as staff liaison and rely on others such as Julie being there on my behalf. I'm hoping there's a chance we can move the day or time of these meetings moving forward so I'm able to attend them entirely. My commitments are Monday, 4:30 to 6 p.m., Tuesday, 5 to 6:30 p.m., Wednesdays, 4 to 5:30 p.m., and this is through early March due to my head coaching duties for basketball practices. Thanks for your consideration.
Will you read, I'm gonna write down Kellen's non-available.
I'll take that.
So just for everybody,
Every night of the week is what I-
Kellen said his commitments or unavailability are 4:30 to 6 on Mondays,
Yeah, basic.
Tuesdays, 5 to 6:30, and Wednesdays, 4 to 5:30.
So, Jim, question. When did was it the pickleball committee meet? What day? Do you recall? Was it Tuesday? Or Clay, do you happen to remember?
I think you're correct. I think it was Tuesdays, unless it was also Mondays.
One of them was
I'm-
Tuesday, I just didn't know which one. Now they're dissolved, so that's open.
That's a good point. Let me see if that's still on the website. I'll pull it.
Because we've
I would be
always
pretty
had that-
impressed if we already
that
pulled it off the
conflict.
website. That would be pretty prompt.
But it's still have to be earlier because Kellen's busy.
Yeah, he doesn't get off until 6, but, you know,
No, I thought he said,
On Tuesdays, it's 5 to 6:30.
6:30.
yeah.
Wednesdays are 4 to 5:30 though.
So, anybody meeting Wednesdays? And it, a particular Wednesday, it doesn't have to be, because nobody meets every Wednesday
Right.
or Tuesday.
Well, some of them are. Four members
Pickleball
in.
met on Monday.
They
Yeah,
met-
they were meeting
I got on my schedule here. in the
second
past.
Monday of every month, starting at 7.
Right after second Monday.
Right,
Second Monday,
you know.
that's right after us. Oh. Funny, we've never seen them. Of course, we're never here
It's because you have quick
7.
meetings. You're out of here before they arrive.
So Mondays I know are bad for me. I have a standing committee meeting in Rotary on Mondays. Luckily, they've been scheduled for the first Monday, but sometimes the first Monday is also the time we have a meeting or something, but anyway.
Okay.
So,
I'm open, I'm retired, so I can
yes.
And some of them open.
semi-retired.
Any other discussion from Tom or Joe?
Well, I guess meeting before 5:30, I can't do, on any day. So it's a struggle to get here by 5:30 on Mondays. But, so if we can move to, any day after, from 5:30 on, I'm good.
Yeah, I'll second that. Yeah, Mondays are tough to have me get back into town by 5:30. So, but just Tuesdays, Wednesdays are easily doable. So yeah, but if either of those are better days for everyone, then I prefer Tuesday, Thursday. But yeah.
So did I hear Tom say after 6?
5:30.
After 5:30, I mean?
A lot of meetings, the public meetings start at 7.
Really?
Well, the idea, I think, for some of those is that it lets people get off work, go home, grab a bite, come to the meeting. But for some people, they'd just rather gut it out, go directly from work into the thing, and then, presuming most of the meetings are about an hour or so long, then they just put it done. So,
What's that do for staff?
staff does, unless the meeting's at 7, they don't typically go home. I will say, 7 o'clock meetings make our days longer. So I can't speak, I won't speak for Richard specifically, because he ends up being one of the people that does all of the meetings, because he's running the equipment in here. But it just tends to make the day generally longer, because you're not really done. You just get to take a break, and then you continue working. And for some of us, we don't really stop a whole lot. We just scarf down some food and keep working.
Well,
So,
we have a quorum. I think we should make that decision now that we have a quorum,
And-
because it's like a pain in the butt trying to get.
Roger, which day did you say was terrible for you?
The Mondays are bad, but,
Bad Mondays.
So what was the day on Kellen's email
Okay,
where he
Kellen,
works?
his commitment's
Busy 4 to
Monday.
5:30.
He said Mondays 4:30 to 6 are bad, Tuesdays 5 to 6:30 are bad, and Wednesdays, I wrote them.
4 to 5:30
4 to
p.m.
5:30.
What about
And then,
Wednesday at 6?
You guys could do Thursdays, so long as it's not the fourth Thursday, because that's a board meeting night.
That's right, I remember we were trying to coordinate a week before so we can get our information to the board. That's why we met the second Tuesday.
And I heard Tom say that Tuesdays and Thursdays are good
Second.
for him in general, as long as it's after 5:30. So if this group wanted to keep go right after the workday to keep everything tight, then you could do as early as 5:30, and it looks like your Thursdays are open. I didn't hear anyone with a burning desire for an evening meeting on a Friday, and I would say, please don't do that to staff, because I'm not gonna show up, and I don't wanna do it to Kellen or Richard.
You could believe.
The other thing is you've got this consultant coming in on the 12th.
That's right.
Right now, you might,
So we can make it effective the following month.
we need to make it effective or make sure that, or see if you can change it. One of the two.
Do that.
Because you can't come on Monday the 12th because you said you're busy.
Actually, I'm out of town. Well, scheduled to be out of town, but
Well, you're really busy.
Are you out of town that entire week?
yes.
Okay, well then, moving it to a Thursday's not gonna help much
No,
for yours.
but it's vacation.
Well,
Retired on vacation.
I won't be here on the 16th to the 22nd,
Yeah.
23rd, no, 25th.
but as far as your staff liaison, if you moved it to a Thursday, he would be good to go. You have the first, second, and third Thursdays of the month available. And I heard your commissioner, so I think it was Tom, said that Tuesdays and Thursdays are his preferred days. And I didn't hear anyone else say it, they have a preferred day, other than no Mondays for Roger preferably.
Yeah, I would agree. Are you okay with Thursday?
Yeah.
Second,
I'm okay
so
with-
the second Thursday, how does that sound? Would be potentially the 8th in January, if we could get the consultant
Well-
to switch?
We could say second Thursday, effective February,
Yeah.
that doesn't mess with the consultant.
Right.
Yes.
And thereafter, if every other month? I don't know. But we can make those decisions later. All right, well. Just a second. That's it.
Gonna say,
I'm up
So
for
we're
it.
going Thursday?
I'm
I mean,
up.
I can still do Wednesday. And it sounds like, Kellen, his timeline is 4 to 5:30.
that's right.
I'm fine doing a meeting at 6. I sure don't want to do 7. So whatever we decide, just I'd like to keep it around the 5:36 starting time.
Roger, you're the chair. You wanna do something here?
Nothing looks good for me. for the next
Nothing
3 months.
looks good to
For
you.
the next 3 months, but that's okay.
Well, we can go into February, and then we can start there, because,
February's no better.
yeah, then we're gonna do that anyway, so.
So let's say Thursday, starting February, Thursday at 5:30. On
Okay.
the second Thursday of every month.
All right.
And
Can you confirm back with Kellen that Thursday, where he didn't mention Thursday, so I assume
I
it's
know,
open?
so I'm gonna, because he didn't tell us, I'm gonna presume that it works, so I'm gonna say, for staff, that appears to work, and if we make it effective Thursday, he'll have plenty of time to tell, or if we make it effective February, we'll have plenty of time to tell us, oops, I didn't tell you, whatever. But I think that.
Thursdays would be great.
Okay,
So the second Thursday, the first meeting at this new time would be February 12th?
I'm seeing second Thursday of the month, beginning at 5:30 in the evening, effective the month of February, 2026.
Will not be here, but that's okay.
Okay. And I would entertain a motion if you all thought that sounded like what you heard each other say.
Do I hear a motion?
I motion that we make that change to the second Thursday at 5:30 or 6. That is the question.
5:30.
5:30, and we'll leave it on a monthly basis until we don't have to meet anymore.
Effective February? Is that what I heard in your motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Second
I
on that?
second.
Okay. Everybody clear on the motion? Okay, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks, CAC. Jim, you had started doing yours, and I think we pivoted back.
Oh.
Did you have any other board updates?
No.
So new business, next date for next meeting would be January 12th, 2026 at 5:30 PM. Any comments from the committee members?
I have a question. So my recollection when I first started was there was a timeline, a proposed timeline for the third nine and the clubhouse and everything. And I think we're pretty behind that. Can we have maybe an updated timeline? I mean, call it tentative or proposed, but
We're talking
just-
breaking of ground.
Well, everything, because I thought, I remember like the feasibility study was supposed to be completed by like October. And so, and they were, so I just think we're behind that schedule that whatever your, Clay, you or the committee, anyone's best guess, I think it'd just be nice and it would help kind of.
So the timeline, so the only thing we've got on a timeline at all is the feasibility study. The additional third nine is not, it's not scheduled with anything resembling a timeline, because it's still, I would say, concept and unfunded, is how I would characterize it. And I would look to the other CAC members, what was the last thing that Kellen has shared about the CAC? Because I thought I remembered that they're expecting to present the concept options in February. So they would do the outreach and then develop the concepts, and that would be in February. And then, if I'm remembering correctly, I don't know that I've seen a specific scope of work attached to a timeline, but I think that the project would go for approximately another 2 months after that. So it might be that the project and the final deliverables are in approximately April, is what I believe. And if I can find something better than that,
Okay.
we'll, happy to send that around through
I mean, I
Kellen.
just get questioned by
Yeah.
other golfers of, hey,
That's-
when do you
it's-
think we'll have to
it's
break
not a
ground
bad
and
question.
stuff like that, so I just,
I think.
And you will have the consultants here next month, so they would be great people to ask and answer that question.
but would that hit within their scope? The start, breaking ground and stuff?
No. So the fees, and that's part of why it's a feasibility study, is we're seeing, is it feasible?
Right.
Based on the site availability, the cost, and those sorts of things. So there's those funding questions. And so, but one of the things we did want to do, and that was talked about with the committee, was trying to do the feasibility study because we were already getting into summer and realizing that if we didn't start moving faster, we wouldn't be able to get into a construction season anytime soon. So not sitting on it too much longer. But one of the things that we'll be going through and hopefully being able to contemplate as we go through this is some of the generally anticipated costs, so we can think about what are the financing options associated with this, and if the board wants to make a decision as we move towards the budget about how something like that gets financed, that we've got the information to do so. So that's what we're looking at. So we're very excited about seeing some of the deliverables so we can think about those implications, and hopefully in this budget cycle.
Any
I don't
comments?
know if the board's got comments on that. I'm not on the budget committee, so.
No, I mean, there's a lot.
I guess I'll chime in because I've been on this committee for quite some time. So, and plus my understanding of how things work with these type of things and stuff. But, you know, we're at a feasibility study right now. We need to get that figured out and kind of what direction we're gonna go. There's the schematic designs, there's the, you know, getting into construction drawings and all that type of stuff. You know, that's at least a year to get to before you submit it to the city for permitting. And then you go through that process. So the reality is, you know, we're 18 months from, you know, basically the time that they present the feasibility study to when we could get into construction. And that's an aggressive timeline. So from a financing standpoint, that's another challenge we got to get through. And, you know, it's going to be based on the, you know, the first 18 and how, you know, revenue bonds were used and stuff. And so, I mean, there's a whole process here to how to get there. And there's lots of challenges to getting there, right? We're you know, Jim, you can chime in, but you know how hard it took to get, you know, a revenue bond, or a tax bond approved to do the pool. That is never going to happen for the clubhouse. So the revenue bond or a private donation is the only way that this thing's going to happen. So, you know, there's groundwork that needs to be laid for all that. You know, the pricing, all that type of stuff. There's a lot of work that has to go into to be able to get to the point where we actually can, you know, legitimately say we're breaking ground. So, and if anybody's expectation is anything less than a year, I'm going to tell you then that's I hate to disappoint you, but that's not happening. So, I'm saying 18 months is a pretty aggressive schedule, and I'm going to tell you right now that it's probably more like 2 years. But, you know, I'd like it to be a whole lot sooner, but, you know, the reality is that there's a lot of challenges and stuff to getting there. So, and that's the reason for our committee is to help push those along and help, you know, get over those challenges and keep moving forward.
Good, good comments, Tom. Appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
Any other comments from the committee members?
Nope.
Okay, then we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks all. Have a good night.